Welcome back to Let's Play Guardians Crusade. Last time, after we were done, I had a pretty fair amount of money left over. I went ahead and... I may have done this in video, but I have the entire set of platinum gear. I made sure I had all of the various accessories. I've got the Ring of Calm equipped now. All the other ones down here, Freedom Ring, Brave Ring, Wake Ring, and I still had a crap ton of money left over. In fact, I had over 100,000 left over. So I spent all of that money on raising Spoo's stats. Now, it's been mentioned before that the various pieces of various items that you can get will actually raise his stats, or raise his different stats. Regular items, such as a peach potion or spinach snack or whatever, will raise his HP, and man has he got some HP. But on top of that, the armor, equipment, weapons and armor specifically, will raise his attack and defense. I wonder what... he's got strength, power, and attack as 3 different stats. What's up with that? My stats are super low, but that's because I have equipment and Spoo doesn't. But, so what I did a little bit of experimentation to figure out what the best way to raise his stats was, because I think some people have thought that every piece of equipment, no matter which one, will raise his stats by the same amount across the board. And that's not actually true. The equipment near the beginning of the game, it will actually take 4 pieces of some of the starter equipment from like the very first town to raise one of his stats by 1 point. Sort of inefficient. The gear near the end of the game, each one will raise his stats by 1 point. So 1 point per 1 piece of gear. Still not exactly efficient. And when you take into account the price difference on that, which is, say, 500 rubies versus 9,000 rubies, it's simply more efficient still to go back and get the starter gear. It's super cheap, you can buy a ton of it. I was here for like an hour and I blew 100 grand buying 50 ruby pieces of gear and feeding it to Spoo. So now look at his freaking stats. He can actually really hold his own in battle, and his affection is through the roof. Add to that, I think somebody was mentioning that if you try to feed Spoo things, you notice that the warp gate key is actually lit up. You can feed him the warp gate key. And, well, you can try. So yeah, you can't actually lose it, but he's not going to be eating it. But with that said, Spoo's up to speed. We've got the best gear in the game. We've got all the living toys, except for like 1 or 2 that we can't actually get yet. We have all of Spoo's transformations. We have all of the legendary pieces of armor. There's very little left in this game to do. So I think it's about time we go turn in our holy gear and save what's left for the last leg of our adventure. So we gotta get to a warp gate. One right here. This is actually why I flew over here. Okay, so warp gate key, warp gate key, warp gate key. Now we had to get all this holy gear so we could actually give it to Darkbeat. Because Darkbeat, being the chosen one, is going to go off and wreck Xyzan. Okay, I think Darkbeat's room was over here. Yeah! Sure did. Some of that crap wasn't easy, though, man. That frickin' Castle of Ryan or whatever. That's awkward. Yeah, I mean, I think I'm pretty sure I put on a piece of it earlier and it went on fine, so... I don't know nothing about a legendary warrior being a chosen one. I can just put on some armor. I don't know what that means. Well, that's a piece of good news. Wait a minute. Darwin! Well, that's a piece of good news. I don't want to fight Darwin, man. He's Darwin. He can wreck me. I was mentioning before that the Guardians, that it was kind of interesting that the Guardians didn't test your worthiness so much as they would test whether or not you could fight and anybody strong could come in. And I actually like how that was handled here because you had to prove that you were had an amount of strength behind you, but also that you had the presence of mind, the courage, the mental prowess of a legendary warrior in order to even put on the gear. So yeah, maybe you could overpower the Guardians and get the gear, but you couldn't use it. And so the various steps here aren't so much making sure that you can wear the gear, but they're making sure that you aren't going to just run off and get yourself killed as soon as you get it put on. So we're fighting Darwin. What are we doing, Darwin? How we doing things? I'm gonna Windmeister ya. Let's start by Windmeistering ya and go from there. Spoo can actually put up a fight now, man, so he's actually gonna be wrecking face. Hurt a little. Okay, so let's get him out. Let's get Mermaid out. And then we can just wreck him. Blue Twister. Ow. Now, really cool thing is for the first time in the entire game, when you put on all that holy equipment, your character actually changes. On the field and right here, you can see I'm wearing this white gear. On top of that, you may recall back when I was about level 20. The instant you hit level 21, you started doing a second attack in your basic combo, instead of just running in and stabbing once, showing that you were actually growing as a warrior. Once you put this armor on, I think your confidence rose just a bit, because heaven help me, I am ready to wreck you. Darn it, Spoo. Man, can you teach me that? I want to know how to do that. I understand, like, they give me all of these living toys and stuff, and, like, that's super cool, but I want to do that. Ah, crap. Well, that was a waste of PP. I didn't want to use Marilyn, I wanted to use Kimoni. Dang it. That's okay, this fight shouldn't be too PP intensive. Yeah, wreck him! Ah, I want to teach me how to do that! I mean, I can stab you like 4 times, and that's pretty cool. But I want to know how to do that tech sword thing, man. Another really cool thing, and they didn't really show it. They showed it from the back, so it wasn't as obvious. But normally, I think when you win a fight, the animation freezes when your sword is up in the air. And now that we've got this armor, it does one last movement straight down, complete with that after image of the sword. And like, man, this was the turning point. We are ready to be the frickin' hero. Oh. Oh, no. No, I'm not. This is... Though I'm not entirely sure why, but this is Darwin's throne. And we've actually had access to this place since, really since we had Chester. Look how neat this place is. Why Darwin has a throne constructed just for him, I have no idea. But if you check the map, we're on this tiny island in the very southeast corner. There's a couple other tiny little islands along the way, and really there's not much of note on any of them. But this tiny little island down here is where Darwin's throne is. And we've had access to this since about the time we had Chester. But if you go inside, there was nothing there. You'd walk in and you'd see a big throne, and Nahani would just say, "Oh, I wonder what this throne is doing here." But, yeah, look at that crap. Look how saving the world we're gonna do. Not quite yet, though, because there's still a little bit left for us to do. You see, now that we've done that, there's actually one more living toy we can get. Oh, it also auto-equips all the holy armor, which I've mentioned is actually worse than the platinum gear. You can just change back to the platinum gear, and it doesn't change your graphic or anything. So don't worry, it still counts as you wearing the holy armor. You're just wearing, like, I don't know, 2 sets of armor. So there's actually, there's a living toy that we can get now that we didn't have access to before. I'm not sure why we didn't have access to it before. Nothing major is changed that would tell me something, that would tell me. I guess, in fact, the only way to get that is if you straight up say no to that guy. I mean, unless maybe I just had to talk to the guy a whole bunch of times and I didn't talk to him enough. I don't know. But, yeah, there's one more living toy we can get, and there is one last place for us to explore. You may recall of the 5 legendary beasts. There were 4 of them. Actually, we've seen all 5 of them at this point. There was the multi-winged bird, which you had to fight very, very early on in the Cave of Fear. There was the golem that you had to fight in the far southeastern town that was in the cave with the little girl. There was the winged lion that you had to fight in the temple in the middle of the swamp that Kalkanor fought for initially, and then you had to fight. And then there's the dragon that was at the top of the Tower of the Gods. The final one we did actually see, but we only saw it in a cutscene, and it's a very large sea serpent. He's around. Oh, there's also a spot right over here. This is another spot that you can only get to if you go to it, once you get Spoo. That's the only way to get here. And it's just another little patch of stuff. There's a little thing of water here. What kind of stuff do you fight here? They're big. I wonder if these are the same guys you fought on the other one. No, you're very different. You're very different indeed. Once you max Spoo's affection, you get the option right here in the menu to transform. And you can use that and you can tell him, yo, transform into this one specific thing. Oops. You even get the list. Just whatever you want, man. Go for it. Of note is, using that does lower his affection for you, so it's not something you can just spam. You actually have to, like, if you use it, you actually have to build back up again in order to use it again. I'm just gonna tell him to attack, though. And this guy's kind of big and mean. So I'm gonna Windmeister him. And then I'll probably attack him and we'll see where we go from there. The enemies that were in the other spot, though, somebody pointed out, were actually, potentially, all of Spoo's transformations. So, if that's true, then that would be a really good place to go, just to, like, catch up on all his transformations if you didn't have it. Granted, it's better to go and actually get the one directly, because there's less dudes you have to fight in order to get the one that you need. But, like, if there was just a mass of them and you just needed, like, all of them, then that'd be a thing to do. He wasn't so big. Man, not even to rotate the camera around fast enough. Alright, though. We're heading a little bit further northwest, though, so I will see everybody at our destination. You may recall that there was a very short cave connecting the swamp area to the desert area, and within that cave there was a miner guy who kind of yelled at you and tried to clear the path, but eventually cleared the path, got you through. But he also sent you on a wild goose chase to go find somebody and give him something. I don't remember exactly. But if you head back in here, this guy is right here digging on this mess. But you can talk to him. And we get the Avalanche living toy. Now, Avalanche causes earth damage, just like Pyro and Windmeister and Mermaid and all. Another elemental living toy that you can summon to just kind of do various elemental damage. And that actually concludes all of the elemental ones that we needed. So now we have, like, what, 4 of them? For the 4 various elements, I suppose? Was there potentially one that for light and dark? Yeah, I remember these that caused light and dark to all, but I don't think there was one that did light and dark damage just to a single target, like the other ones. Oh well, not important. Okay, so with that living toy done and acquired, we're off for another flight. Because we've got one last place to explore. On the eastern continent, near the north side of it, There's actually a beach here, and you could have gotten to this place as soon as you had Chester. So let me land here, and I'll run you over a place. Yeah, you can see we're on the very north end of the eastern continent there, where you can land on this beach, and normally as soon as you get Chester, this place is way too strong for you. Like, the enemies here are just way too high level. Of note, the enemies out here are the same enemies we've seen before, I think, with the various dragons and such. But I managed to... Oh no, you guys are new. Or are you? I think I've seen you before. I should have healed up. Yeah, look at that hero pose. But yeah, I managed to go here right after I got Chester, and I ran through here just kind of for the sake of seeing if I could, and I managed to sneak my way in here pretty good, actually. And there's something very interesting here, but we'll get to that when we get to it. Oh, right out now, this is... Somebody in the comments mentioned that, a while back, anyway, mentioned that they were actually really bothered by the fact that I generally don't take advantage of a lot of the strategy that the living toy system in this game offers. And admittedly, it's not really in my playstyle to take advantage of super complicated strategies and things. I'm very, very much a basics kind of guy. Like, I am very much of the mindset that the fastest way to kill something is to reduce its HP to 0. And so I will take the most direct path to reducing its HP to 0. Like, give me something that reduces its HP. I'm going.